All right, Randy, thank you again. Great job. You know, when we were putting this together, we tried to do looking for some data on the transit assessment, our transit use in the valley and the unmet need. And what we found was there was no real good data on it. And part of the reason there's no good data is that for a long time, going back before any of us were doing transportation in the valley or in the city, decisions were made that left sort of the dregs or the ends of the system in the San Fernando Valley. And as a result, people figured out other ways to get around. It may not be their first choice, but because they had to go to school or had to go to work or had to do whatever, people figured out how to make it work for them. So as a result, there's not as large a transit-dependent population today as demographics would indicate because they've never had the opportunity. So that's why you hear things like you hear about Lancashire or some of the others. We're looking to see how we improve that, and we're looking to do that with partners at the MTA. We can't do it by ourselves. The MTA needs our help in order to do it and do it right. We have council members here today. Paul sits on the MTA board as well. Corian, council member from the Valley, who we'll hear from shortly. But this session today, as I said, is the first of two. This is designed to talk about those unmet needs, but also to begin the process to identify where we go beyond the projects that were recommended by the COG and by Valley on Track. That would be the second meeting that we hope to hold in January, where we take a lot of the information we gather today, continue to do surveys, continue to use the website, which the address will be posted again. It's been up a little bit earlier, where you can put input to it and give input. But in the meantime, I want to introduce two people. I'm introducing one, and Stephanie will introduce the other. But Stephanie Wiggins is the Deputy CEO of the MTA. That makes her responsible for everything. She's also really good people, and I've worked with her on projects at the MTA, and Stephanie's one of those people who always delivers on time, on budget, or under, and exactly what you're expecting, or even more. And so I'm really glad that she's the new Deputy CEO. I'm also really glad she's here today, and she's going to introduce a special guest from the MTA, who's actually just joined the MTA, I believe, on October 5. So he's new. This is his first public appearance, so we will be gentle the first time. Not too gentle, Bob, not too gentle, but we want him to, but he lives in the Valley. He lives in Studio City, so that's a good start. And it's an education process, so let's give him at least 5 or 10 minutes before we go after him, please. Stephanie.
Thank you, Richard, and good morning, everyone. I want to thank Senator Hertzberg, Valley Economic Alliance, and VICA for inviting us here this morning. I also want to acknowledge, again, our sitting Metro Board member representing the Valley, Councilman Krikorian, and our former board members who really, they've been visionaries for really pushing for additional transit in the Valley. Supervisor Yaroslavsky, David Fleming, and Richard Katz, and Mel Wilson. So thank you for that. I am here today. I would be here even if our CEO wasn't, but I'm here speaking today on behalf of our CEO, Phil Washington. He sends his regrets. He has to be out of town today at an event that was scheduled prior to the organization of this event. But I don't want you to think his not being here is indicative of how important we feel this issue is. We are excited to be here. It's great to hear how important transportation summits have been in the history of the Valley and creating phenomenal transformational change in delivering transportation to the area. As many of you may know, our CEO is new to LA Metro. He started in May of this year. He was at the VICA event just last week, but a little bit about him. He comes to us from Denver as the former CEO of Denver Regional Transit District. There, he was innovative, invested in our workforce, and focused on safety and security. And those are 3 issues, key pillars that he's brought to LA Metro. We have a new vision statement at Metro that's to provide excellence in service and support, and we're focused on that. That's why we're excited to be here to, again, engage in listening and learning from the Valley community. One of the most immediate things that Phil announced to the board and the board concurred with is the creation of a new department, an Office of Extraordinary Innovation. Joshua Shank has been tapped to be our first Chief Innovation Officer. The focus of the Office of Extraordinary Innovation is really to bring private sector assets, the best ideas, not just locally, not just at a state level or national level, but internationally to Metro, so we can be more responsive and bringing innovative transportation ideas to the region. Along with that will be a renewed focus on public-private partnerships and unsolicited proposals. Joshua comes to us as a national recognized leader in public-private partnerships. He most recently has been the CEO of the ENO Transportation Think Tank in Washington, D.C., and I just want to introduce him to you. Joshua?
Well, thank you so much. I'm very excited to be here. I'm excited to be in Los Angeles. I've been studying transportation and I'm working in transportation my whole life, but this is my first opportunity to apply what I've learned in really one of the most exciting metropolitan regions in the country. I know a little bit about everywhere, and now I'm going to learn a lot about this place, so I'm excited to do that. And it comes in an incredible time with incredible opportunity for the region because you have such a commitment and interest in improving transportation, which not every place has. And you've demonstrated that time and time again. That's why I really wanted to be here, in addition to the fact that I think Phil is an amazing human being and is going to be a great CEO for the region. So thank you for having me. Look forward to working with you.
I just want to close with a couple of comments about the opportunity that we do have before us. As many of you know, we are in the process of updating our long-range transportation plan. We do that every 4 to 5 years or so because the realities are, you all very much know the needs of the communities change very rapidly, and it's tough to keep up with them. Thanks to Senator Hertzberg's vote and others, Senator De Leon sponsored a bill. It got signed by the governor just last month that allows us to actually put a ballot measure on the ballot if the board so chooses. As part of the long-range transportation plan update process, a lot of the work to date has been focused on the actual regional projects. And so the VICA projects that you heard about, the Valley on Track projects, the COG projects, have really focused on just a portion of the expenditure plan, which are specific regional projects that would be outlined if on a ballot measure. I want to let you know that today the timing is perfect because those projects that have been talked about are only one element of an expenditure plan. There's a whole nother element of the expenditure plan that talks about transit operations needs, more local street and road needs, Metrolink needs, that we still have not started focusing on. So this will be very informative as we work together. This is a collaborative process to really present before the board and for all of you a draft expenditure plan that we intend to be regional, rational, and equitable. Thank you.
Stephanie, thank you very much. I think we're all in favor of equitable, even if I can't say it. We're also in favor of catching up so we can all be equitable. There's two important things when you talk about money in transportation. One is how much money you're getting. Well, equally or more important is what year you're getting it in. Measure R has got 3 separate tranches by decades. I think I'll just take a rough guess for the folks here. We prefer the first 5 years as opposed to the last 5 years, so we just want to put that note in there while we're going through this. I also want to thank, while we're coming around, Jose Cornejo, who's standing in the back, who was responsible for a lot of what took place today. Thank you, Jose, for your work. Also, Bob Scott, who was one of the original founders of the Economic Alliance after the '94 earthquake. Bob, thank you. What I'd like to do, while we're still waiting for Fernando Guerra, is going to come and talk demographics for a little bit, but big surprise, he's stuck in traffic, or at least is saying he's stuck in traffic because we all believe that excuse, right? But let me go to some city council members who probably have other places to go, including downtown. But let me start with Bob Blumenfeld, councilman. Welcome.
Thank you. All right, no. Say a few words. First, thanks for putting this on, Bob. Thanks for inviting me and the Economic Alliance and like everyone who's been part of this. It's much appreciated and much needed. We're really at a place in time where we need to focus on our transit and our transportation. And it's important for us to focus as a region in the San Fernando Valley, but as a council member who represents the West Valley, I want to put a little pitch in for what's happening in the West Valley. Because a lot of times, certainly on Measure R, the West Valley is particularly ignored. You'd look at the rail stops to there, well, it's zero in the West Valley. And what people may not realize is that's where the growth is right now. The Warner Center area, we're expecting, with the 2035 plan, over 30 million square feet of office space, 32 million square feet of residential. And what do we have to serve that? We have the Orange Line, which is great, but is over capacity. And as we know from a funding perspective, is funded much less than, say the Gold Line, which is getting, infusions of billions of dollars with a third the ridership. And we have 30,000 people riding the Orange Line. So I mentioned that to say I think it's very important for us to think about the entire region, but to also, when we think about equity, think about where the growth is happening and what we need to help create transit options. Come to the Village with just a $350 million investment. They're going to expect 20 million people there a year, more people than Disneyland. How are they going to get there? How are they going to get back from there? In the past, the West Valley has been considered sort of the far-flung area of the valley, and it's, well, how do those people get to downtown? Well, these days, the rest of the world is also coming to the West Valley and going through the West Valley to Calabasas and everywhere else west of the West Valley. So I put that in as a pitch since you gave me the microphone, but also want to say, I really enjoy working on the COG with Jess. Now I'm serving as the vice chair and chair of the transportation committee, and our focus and what we need to do is we need to hang together. Hang together or hang separately. And we've seen how hanging separately has worked in the past for us. So let's hang together as a valley, and let's really work to get great transit options and creative transit options, and be a more connected city, both physically, and then also I'm going to put in a pitch for virtually, and that's a whole other story.
Thank you, Thank you, Councilman Blumenfeld. Councilman Correct. And I will make sure that because it's valley-wide, we have Glendale council members here, Burbank council members here, San Fernando council members. We will get through so everybody's point of view is heard, and even LADOT. We're going to welcome Selena to the valley as well.
Thank you. I'll apologize if I asked to take a couple more minutes than I might have.
I'll take the mic back.
And I'll just echo Bob's thank yous to everybody to save time. I think I have a silver bullet, and I think I have a different outlook on why we have a greater need. In addition to just our traffic problems, we are continuing to underestimate global warming and how quickly it comes upon us. Not all of you realize, in addition to us being in the 4th year of the worst drought we've ever had in California, things have happened like wildfires in the Northwest that chewed up over 11 million acres. South Carolina and Athens, Greece, completely flooded under. The Antelope Valley had a massive mudslide, and as we speak, there are 100,000 fires in Southeast Asia, putting out as many greenhouse gases on most days in the last year and a half as the entire United States. This is happening. It's come upon us much more quickly than we realize. We had the worst hurricane in human history. There is a need to turn this around, and many scientists believe if we don't act in the next 10 years to dramatically turn this around, the human race won't survive. I believe that LA's piece is to figure out how to get our cars off fossil fuels in the next 10 years and to build a transit system that's an alternative that can get you anywhere. Now, my silver bullet is personalized rapid transit, or PRT. It's a system that runs on guideways with car-sized vehicles. There are no stops required. You go all the way into your pre-programmed destination so you can get everywhere quickly. And in the current generation that's being developed in Israel, which should be available in a couple of years, it'll be able to go as quickly as 150 miles an hour. It's expected to cost about $25 million a mile. So this is actually a system although it's different enough that it's very hard to get us to take it seriously, it's a system that could be built that could get you everywhere in the greater LA area and be built in just a few years. So I think this is the answer. The Valley would be actually fortunate that it doesn't have much transit because we could build a number of east-west and north-south connecting lines and get you to almost anywhere very close to your destination almost instantly.
Is there more information on this on your website? Okay, so people who are interested in your silver bullet, the PRP, they can get that at, what's the address?
I hate to tell you, but I have not memorized it.
You can Google it, or actually go to the City Hall directory. City Hall has a really good website, and it'll list Paul Kretz at lacity.org. Thank you, Councilman Blumenfeld. Mr. Kokorian.
Well, thanks, Richard, and thank you, Bob, for having us, and thank you all for participating in this. These are the kind of conversations that can become negative really quickly. So let me start with some positive, if I can. This is an incredible golden opportunity for transportation in the San Fernando Valley and throughout our region right now. Right now, Metro has 5 rail lines under construction. There's no other region in the United States that's undertaking that kind of investment in our public transportation infrastructure right now. It's unheard of. So this system is growing by leaps and bounds right now. And as it grows, you see a geometric increase in its usefulness because you can get to more places as it grows. So now we have to plan for the next step in that growth. And I think you'll see one of the themes of today is that the Valley needs to be a part of that system-wide plan more than it has been. And we have been left out today, especially on rail. 2 train stations out of 80, more than 80 in the system, and there's much more than that planned now, is unacceptable. We all know that's unacceptable, and for this system to work, not just for the San Fernando Valley, but for the entire county, the Valley and its jobs and its population have to be integrated into this system to a much greater degree than they are now. So we're all of us need to speak with a single voice in making clear that that is what we're going to insist upon going forward. The Valley can't be left out again. The Valley has to be a full participant in the growth of this system. Now that being said, as I say, this is a golden opportunity for us. Right now we're planning Measure R2, the next extension of the existing sales tax devoted to transportation, and possibly enhancing that as well in order to have enough funds to be able to build a system that works, because right now there's about $250 billion in priority project needs for the county. $250 billion. Let that number roll around in your head a little bit, and you have a sense of what the challenge is for this region and what we need to build. So it is going to be imperative, Richard, it is going to be imperative for every single person in this room to fight tooth and nail to make sure that we have the funding we need to grow this system. And that means your strong, full-throated, unquestioning, absolute support of Measure R2 when it rolls out. Between now and when that goes on the ballot, we will have that dialogue, Bob, and we will fight to make sure that every penny that the Valley deserves goes into that ballot measure. But I can tell you that that ballot measure is going to include billions of dollars of infrastructure investment for the San Fernando Valley, and if we turn that away because it doesn't meet our 100% needs, it doesn't meet 100% of what we want, and we stomp our feet, we say no, shame on us. Shame on us for leaving billions of dollars on the table that we could otherwise have. So we need full support of this measure without question, and between now and when we get to there, we need to all make sure that Metro knows, make sure that everyone who's a stakeholder in this knows that the Valley must be a full participant in the county's regional transit system.
Paul? Councilman, thank you very much. We appreciate your being here, as well as Paul and Bob. We know you're one of our Metro reps on the board, the only Valley rep there. So our goal here is to give you the ammunition you need, and we will help you fight that fight. And Sheila Kuehl also, who was invited today, but had a schedule conflict, I guess. So we would love, but we will work with both your offices and with Stephanie, obviously, and get that word out.